Hi guys, Gals, Shane here at the Buffalo Naval Park, and this is a follow-up video from one I did over the summer in this exact space in the Admiral's quarters, and it was all about the refits, right, of USS the Sullivans. And so I'm going to embed that link down below, and you can review that one, and then also supplement this one with that. At the end of the video, of that particular video, I said what that video did was it used what we have in our collections to kind of build the refits for the Sullivans. 1945 we had photographs, 1952 we had the cruise book, Around the World cruise book, 1956, if you remember, I had that blueprint, and then 1958 I supplemented with photographs from a collection of Tom Peter, who was from Buffalo, who served aboard. And then I kind of summarized by saying I'm kind of missing that 58 to 63 window of any refits. Now we know in probably 60, 61, those ASW torpedoes, the triple torpedo tubes were added on the 01 level. But there's probably some other changes and refits, all right, for the Sullivans in that 5-year window before she just became a training ship with the destroyer school. Winter for me is kind of a time where I can finally start processing collections from the year. Now this was a collection we received earlier this year, and happy to say that this is going to fill in not 1958 to 1963, but it's actually going to fill in this narrow gap between 1952 and 1956. So again, 1952, we have the Around the World cruise. 1956 is the blueprints from the Boston shipyard. This is 1952 to 1955. So let me introduce the man whose collection this was. All right, his name was Robert Lorenz, and he was in the Naval Reserves. He was from St. Joseph's, Missouri, went to Marquette University in Milwaukee, and was part of the ROTC program. Graduated in 1952. Was immediately put onto USS the Sullivans later in the year 1952, but early enough for their Around the World cruise and Korean service. Ultimately, he stayed on board until about April of '55. So he's an ensign, dated to '52 when he graduated from Marquette. In about mid-1954, he rose to Lieutenant JG, and then there's a letter in his correspondence that says, "We think you would be a good career naval officer, and so 1955 is the year that you are eligible to transfer from the reserves to the full Navy and continue your career in U.S. Navy." He did not choose to do that, all right? So he served in the Naval Reserves from '52, graduating at Marquette University, all the way up through about April of '55 as Lieutenant JG, U.S. Naval Reserve. And then I think he moved to Milwaukee. And so we have his graduating book, the ROTC graduation book, and then I'll also show him in our Around the World cruise. So here he is here. All right, there he is, Ensign Robert Lorenz. There's a picture of him. And then if we go to the cruise book, you'll see, there he is right there. So yeah, what an interesting time, right? Graduates from college as an ensign in the U.S. Navy Reserves, gets assigned to the Sullivans, And I'm thankful to the family that they kept this material. Right, there's a lot of interesting stuff in here, and I'm thankful now I have the time to go item by item and build that collection and his story. Like if I'm just throwing stuff in a folder and arranging it real quickly and just moving on, I wouldn't know maybe that he was in the reserves at Marquette University in the ROTC program, things like that. So there's a really nice letter dated from 8 December 1954. And that's what I'm going to be highlighting today. All right, so if we go back to, here's the blueprint, all right? And again, these are the updates to this blueprint, 1943, the original construction, Boston Naval Shipyard in 52, Philadelphia Shipyard in 54, Boston again in 56, and then that's where it shows, all right, if you remember this one, that's where it shows the 3-inch 50s on the aft deckhouse and the waist-mounted twins with the 63 gun director. All right, I also noticed that they still had the quintuple torpedo tube with the torpedo director up here on the aft stack. All right, so that was part of that first video of showing the refits. And again, going through those logs, 58 to 63, 62 is really what I'm interested in locating. So 52 to 56, I kind of, in that video, well, at least in my, I don't know if I mentioned it in the video, but I say, okay, so we know that the 3-inch 50s were put on before 56, yet after 52, because they are not in the cruise book, the 52, 53 cruise book. There's still the quad Beauforts on the waist, and, of course, on the aft deckhouse. But, so reading through this, Lieutenant J.G. Lorenz's collection, as I mentioned, there is a letter dated, right, 8 December 54. It's from the supply officer to the commanding officer, and he's talking about conducting of the equipage inventory. And so that's just an inventory index of the equipment, equipment that's needed, equipment that's missing, broken down. And so conducting the inventory of equipment for the supply division. And he lists why he actually was not able to get it done. So if we go down to number 3, ship reorganization after the 3-inch 50 conversion and refresher training in Guantanamo Bay prevented the October inventory. Well, how about that? So looking at the blueprint, October of 54, that's what they're mentioning. In October of 54, they couldn't do the October inventory because of the reorganization of the addition of the 3-inch 50s and the subsequent training and, say, a shakedown cruise after the dock period. So now we can know that the 3-inch 50s were added in this dry dock period of Philadelphia, October of 54. Now, why would Lieutenant J.G. have this correspondence if it was from the supply officer to the commanding officer? Well, he was CC'd on it, right? So that's why he has a carbon copy of it. And then again, by April of 55, in his collection, he's giving a summary of his work on board to the following officers that will be taking his place after April of 55. So that's a really nice of what he's done on board, as chief engineer, what he's done, what's lacking in the engine rooms, some pump malfunctions, things like that. I noticed that he wrote a correspondence to the CO saying we accidentally dumped 20 gallons of oil into a port, and apologizing for that. So it's a fabulous thing. It's fabulous that we are able to actually now see. So again, we got now 45. We've got with the photos of the original refit at the end of World War II. Then we have the cruise book from 1952. Then we have Lieutenant J.G. Lorenz correspondence that fills in 52 to 55. Then we have in 56 the blueprint. Then we have in 58 the Tom Peter digital photographic collection. So I was thinking that maybe when I did the original video that maybe that the 3-inch 50s were added in 56. Now we have written proof on a primary document that they were added in October or September of 54. And now that changes the narrative for myself and future generations of what the refits were on USS the Sullivans. A little postscript was here he is in 2013 with one of his children, right, going on the honor flight from Milwaukee over to Europe. And this is, again, 2013, so there he is there with his Sullivan's cap. And then he passed away in 2022 at the age of 91. So we like to honor him and his 3-year service on board the Sullivans. And I want to thank his family for sending us this really nice collection. There's a lot of nice photographs, not so much of the ship itself, but of him with other officers and just him at home, in Navy and out of Navy as well. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please compare it again with the link down below for the original refit video. But I'm really thrilled that we now have the exact time period. Let's say, call it the exact quarter, right? They probably were in the shipyard in September, too. So September, October 54, finally, we know that the 3-inch 50s were added. And thank you to Lieutenant J.G. Lorenz for his record keeping and for the family to recognize that and to ship and drop off his materials to us. I want to wish you Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we will see you again very soon. Leave comments, suggestions, subscribe. You know the drill. Thanks so much for all of your support.